Welcome, one and all, to the Esports Central Podcast. It is episode 50, and I'm really excited despite it being really late at night, because it is episode 50. Look at my eyes, I'm crazy, guys.
Woo! Or aren't we all by this point?
A little bit, yeah.
50 episodes in.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm axtremes, with me, StGutterlily, GK, Kaameel, Chicktay, and Profeci. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Episode 50. What the hell?
How is Esports Central not shut down our podcast yet? These guys are fucking masochists. They don't care about brand image or jack shit anymore at this point.
It kind of feels like that, eh?
I'm kidding.
Executive management.
Well, let's be honest. The executive management is sort of a cross between a hobbit and a dwarf, and he's about as angry. So, you know, I mean...
Woo! Woo! Hot takes.
Actually... He's a very infuriating person to other people, but he's very calm himself. He feeds off the fucking trigger of the rest of the peeps. So maybe he enjoys the flames we create with the fires we start, you know?
Maybe he's a gremlin, not a hobbit.
The first time I've ever seen him use an emoji in chat that is not like an old school emoji.
Oh?
You got did it hit no one else?
No,
it hit me.
it didn't hit me at all.
Never
You
thought
must be
about
really
that,
he had a swearing face, and I was like,
Wow,
he must
okay.
really have felt that emotion.
So what we're confirming here is that Sargon ZA, editor of Esports Central, and our overlord, who we don't actually listen to on anything, we just sort of
be an
wreck him.
overlord, you have to stand above someone.
And he doesn't. He's
That's
short.
Oh,
He's angry.
wow.
And he uses new emojis that just are out of character. So basically, the
Sargon
reason
is
we're going this way
ridiculous.
is because I'd like to intro Kaameel, but Kaameel's doing his Sargon
That was my
cosplay
Sargon
right now.
cosplay. Sorry, I didn't reach the webcam. The reason I'm so fucking mean to him today is because I've been asking him for the last 50 episodes to come and join me on this podcast, and he refuses. Even on our 50th anniversary, I'm fucking heartbroken, axtremes.
Yeah, screw that guy. He didn't show up at all. What a fader. This is how we're starting episode 50. We're flaming our own editor.
I can see it, yeah.
Well, for anybody who hasn't watched the show before, you're probably asking yourself right now, why should you watch it anymore? Because, like, what the hell is this? Thank you for joining us anyway. Esports Central, what we're all about as a podcast anyway, is our opinions on esports, and we're all people who've been involved in esports for a long time. How can you tell? Because there's the number 50 on this episode. That should tell you something at least. But all of us are involved in the South African scene, on the international scene as well. So we come with a fair bit of experience, also a lot of brand experience, marketing experience, journalism experience, shitposting experience, Kaameel, all of those sorts of things. So...
and how to
yes.
sue a bitch experience from Nadia.
Yes, there's that.
But
But I mean,
Probably why
I
Nadia
just need a
became
good sleep,
lawyer.
and then Kaameel is dead.
oh, yes.
I mean, the reason Nadia probably became a lawyer was that she could couch in legal terms, how to be nice to somebody, but still tell them to get fucked.
What, like my learned counsel above me?
Oy. Oh, okay, Loki. Let's switch back. Let's get back on track here. We're talking about esports. If you want to read more factual-based stuff, because this is all the opinion stuff, if you want to read the fact-based stuff, go to www.esportscentral.co.za, where you can read articles from some of us, you can read articles from some other people, and you can also read, well, not much more than that, actually. I was trying to find something else there, but, you know, Sargon doesn't write enough anymore. Where is he? What the hell, Sargon?
We're back to bashing Saga. Yes, great.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
our clutch for the episode. Every
I
time we
just
don't know what
feel-
to say, fuck Sargon.
I just feel because he didn't show up, we have to wreck him, eh? We have to wreck
Episode
him.
50 is going to be the Sargon bashing. That's
Yes.
just how
Yeah.
it has to be.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
About right.
just for some context, he was asked last week to come onto the show, and he was like, okay, he'll make certain that everything that he needs to have is ready. Namely, what is it? I think it's his
Himself.
microphone, isn't it?
Himself,
And then
yes.
today he informs us he hasn't gotten his microphone fixed. It's like, nah, you've had a week.
I asked him 2 weeks ago, but that's it's our topic. Leave it for
So
another day.
we wanted to celebrate and have a spirit of togetherness and all of that, and, well, no Sargon. Also showing a little bit of road magic there.
So
I have an
just,
analogy.
Yeah, just hold on. Wait. Is this about me? Are you gonna?
No. I have a perfect
Okay.
analogy about how we feel
Okay.
about Sargon dodging this
Oh,
podcast.
wow.
About his bad as the Los Angeles Lakers felt when they saw Kawhi Leonard sign with the Clippers. Bam, that's a 10 out of 10.
Spicy.
analogy.
Okay, it actually worked for once. Eh?
That's the first good
first.
analogy you've done. It took you 50
We
episodes.
learned what one is.
Wow.
Just like it took me 50 episodes to remember I actually have a microphone that I use.
Yeah, it took
So,
him
we're
50
doing well.
episodes to realize he has a microphone in his house. So, wow, there's all sorts of firsts happening on this episode. Well, as you can see, we're all doing our very best Sargon cosplay. So again, we're just missing our intrepid leader. We wish you were here, bro. Playing the Pink Floyd song, all of that. But now we shall rise, actually, because there's some important stuff here. Very important thing. Now that I've thoroughly made us look really strange, is here's where we got to go the credible route and say thank you to our sponsor. Actually, we'd rise to the occasion after bashing Sargon. Thank you, Syntech and Redragon, for getting involved in the Esports Central Podcast for episode 50, the very special 50th episode, where you could win yourself a Redragon Vata mechanical keyboard, which is up on screen right now, shiny and RGB and everything, and no Gmax. You can't win it. You have enough RGB.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing as enough RGB.
This is true. Well, there it is, shiny and new and wonderful in every way. So thank you, Red Dragon, for that. Shout out to you guys. If you guys want to know how to win that, of course, stick around until a little bit later in the show where we'll give you some more details on how you can win that in celebration of episode 50 of the Esports Central Podcast. No more Sargon bashing. We're done, are we? No, we're never
I think
done.
we've got it all out.
Did we? Did we really?
Kaameel, it's up to you, hey, because you're quite touched about it.
We'll see how the rest of the episode goes. Maybe I've got it all out of my system. Maybe I've moved on, but maybe I'm gonna be like those angry RNBA fans about LeBron or LaFlop as they call him. You know.
Wait.
The flop.
Like let's just get this through though. The first year in 10 that LeBron doesn't make the finals, Canada wins the NBA finals.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It's crazy,
That-
dude.
Like a whole different country wins when LeBron doesn't make the final.
That is wild. Which is
I have the
sorry, what?
biggest LeBron stan ever. Not the biggest, but I love the man, dude. LeBron's a goat, dude.
Yeah, well, who's not a goat? Sargon.
Sargon.
Okay, we could actually bring out the real esports stuff. We still have an actual episode for you guys. It's only taken us 5 minutes to get to the actual episode. Don't worry, but we have Gabriel from the Ekasi Tech Fest. He's on later as our guest, so definitely look out for him. He's got some really interesting things to say around the Tech Fest and around South African esports. So definitely stick around for that. And of course, you can still find out how to win a mechanical keyboard from Redragon. So that coming too. Meanwhile, what we'll go through right now, let's talk about last week's poll, because we do always want to hear what you guys have to say. So let's bring that up quickly. So the poll over on Esports Central was, should local tournament organizers work together to ensure their LAN tournaments don't conflict or happen on the same day? 91% of you in 192 votes said yes, absolutely. So kind of all the other options are pretty much moot at this point, shall we say. Because it just really sounds like, people do want that. I mean, we keep saying it, but it's not just because we keep saying it. It's probably because this is what the community wants. What do you guys think?
It's more events where more people can participate in. And that's basically it.
Exactly.
I was waiting for a hot take there. I was waiting for
fire.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
That's just it. I know, like, everybody wants to be what's the Afrikaans saying about elke hoender wil koning wees op sy eie mishoop, which basically means every
Trappen van vergelijken, is that what it means?
basically, no, every rooster wants to stand on his own little
Pile of shit.
pile of shit.
That's such a good saying. That's amazing.
And
Teach
that's
that
what
to me
we're sitting.
afterwards. That's amazing.
I shall. But that's basically what we're having here. And the thing is, if you space it out, there is enough of the little pie to go around. The people are eager to go to these events. And you kind of take it away from them if you decide to, like, okay, I see you're on that date. I'm just going to hijack that, don't mind. And yeah, so I'm not surprised at all by the result, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty succinct. no, none of us could have said it better, except if we'd bashed Sargon somehow in it. But it's okay.
Like basically, if the poll was on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate Sargon? 10. 10's the first option. That's what everybody's gonna vote for. Like,
Yeah,
fucking
absolutely.
fuck that guy.
That's exactly the same as the poll that she was just giving us some fantastic analysis on. Same poll.
But that
Yeah.
being said, so if obviously, well, 192, that's not everybody, but if a lot of random people on Twitter just kind of have that kind of idea, then it's great and wonderful, but it's not the actual tournament organizers. So if you're listening, and I hope to God you are, please take note. We beg you.
Yep. Well, we've seen some suspicious changes at certain tournament providers the very week after we've said things on this podcast. So it's fair to say a few of them do. Shall we say? I don't know if they still will after our Sargon bashing in our intro, but hey, if you're still here, we're happy to have you.
Now you know.
Yeah, you know,
Now
yes.
you know what to do. Next step.
Yeah, next topic, in fact. Let's talk about international esports. And, I think the thing I'll quickly start with is because I like to talk about Counter-Strike a lot. It was ESL One Cologne, and it was really cool. And it is the best thing in the world. Better than TI. Sorry, Kaameel.
I watched some of ESL Cologne. Better than TI is a push. Huh?
Yeah, it's not better than TI.
Okay, but actually, it was a really good event. You could argue that I thought the way they did the production and stuff, it was like watching an NBA
it's the
event
biggest-
without.
It's the biggest event in a Valve game not run by Valve. It's got like zero support for Valve.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like even from the salty Dota point of view, it was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. It's such a spectacle every year. I was supposed to go last year, actually. I even got press accreditation because apparently Esports Central is credible according to the international press. So,
Hey yo!
so
Someone gets it.
unfortunately, wasn't able to go, but that's a big regret because it is such a good event, and I think just in esports in general, it's just one of those events that you probably should go to at one point. We've got one of the best crowds, one of the best arenas. And I'm just glad to see, because after all of the stuff we've spoken about in the last 6 months about where CSGO has gone with the weird soft exclusivity from Blast Pro series and all of that, it has been impacting the scene. The viewership hasn't been what it was last year because we haven't had all the best teams at a tournament. Yeah, we did actually have pretty much all the best teams at a tournament, and the viewers showed up. So the crowd showed up.
North of 500,000 in the finals.
Yeah, which is, again, consider it's not a major. It's just a tournament. So,
Yeah.
CSGO fans are clearly still interested in the game. It's not quite the 1.1 million from the Boston major last year, but hey, maybe we'll get back there. But CSGO, a dead game,
But what also was cool is, there were so many narratives coming into this ESL. Obviously, like sort of Astralis, kind of, will they come back to reclaim their throne? And then obviously Team Liquid is like, will they solidify themselves as the best in the world? I mean, there were so many narratives then, and obviously Navi having a new, I think they replaced someone there what is it,
Boomich, yeah.
Boomlich.
So there's just so many great narratives, like just not even like someone that's like actively, for people that weren't actively part of the scene, there's just so many rad narratives that you could just sit down and watch and go, cool, I want to see how this plays.
Will the Frenchies shank the Americans with a frozen, sharpened baguette? Which was what the final was about, right?
Pretty much.
Simple did attempt to shank and ended up.
Oh,
his
yeah.
team ended up losing the
Yeah,
game.
that
which
is still.
It's such a great tournament. I hope that every esport that people follow will get an event, have their event like this. Because I mean, we can talk about it in Dota as TI, we can talk about ESL One Cologne in CS:GO. You could arguably say Worlds in League of Legends, but it's about the consistency of what it is, and Worlds isn't always quite the same thing. So it shows you like you can build like a historical narrative around an event that just becomes kind of like an institution. And I think more esports need this because especially these the newer esports, they're trying to do something, but it's not always just about the prize pool or that kind of thing. It's about the story and the history and all of that, and they need to start thinking about that aspect because hey, Counter-Strike's got the history and the story aspect on lockdown right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a good point you make. And from the Dota standpoint of view, I know you mentioned TI, but we've had also another fantastic event. The last major of the year this year was Epicenter Major, and it's their third year running it. And I mean, people are saying it's by far the best Dota event of the year outside of TI. And I think there's even talks of it being a better event than TI. That's how good it is. I mean, it's in Russia or Ukraine rather, I think. And that's where your biggest...
That's a massive one you want to make sure you get correct.
No. For the Dota,
Russia
for the Dota
or
community.
Ukraine. It's in Moscow.
CIS. It's in the CIS.
It's the CIS region. I'm not 100. You know what? It's disputed from Putin's mind. It's disputed in my mind. I'm kidding. But
So it's sort of like I own that, no you don't kind of.
it's like the CIS region is like one of the most passionate Dota 2 regions. The event itself is spectacular. The production is always of the highest quality. The stage this year, the way they had the hologram stuff set up was amazing. Like, again, I think it was maybe better than TI8 setup last year. And the intro movie for the event was the greatest sort of content piece I think Dota's ever seen in terms of like, that kind of content. It was amazing. So there's
I love
another...
that you made CSGO about Dota.
He does this, eh? It's amazing.
I love that you literally made a
He has a
CSGO
talent for
topic
this, doesn't
about
he?
Dota. Like, wow. Also, can we mention who won? Like, ESL? We haven't even said that yet.
Team
Before Kaameel
Liquid.
went on his tangent. But I'm so happy for them. I think,
But
like,
what's
the org itself is just doing really well. Like, I mean, overall. I mean, and someone actually mentioned like someone mentioned it on Twitter, just like the organization has just done really well to to build its teams across the different different games. And obviously in League of Legends, Team Liquid back-to-back North American champions, did really well at MSI, made it to the finals. So I feel like as an organization, it's really cool that you see like Liquid just doing.
Do you
well.
remember when we were talking about the Esports Awards last year and like Cloud9 was named as the best sort of American esports organized?
Yeah.
I think you were agreeing with me that it's just like Team Liquid is the only org in America that really takes all the steps and spends all the money to have the best team they can possibly have. And like it's now reaping the rewards. Even the Dota team is freaking great. So
yeah, TI7 champions. I mean, for the last 3 years, they've been a fantastic team, like top tier.
Yeah, it's just I think across all the esports, Team Liquid really kills it. Just has that management with the killer instinct for winning stuff. Whereas Cloud9 almost seem like they win stuff by being like neighborly at times, and not and more often than not they get wrecked because of it.
Friendship.
If you want to think about it, like this Team Liquid is only as good as they are because Cloud9 is as much of a mess as they are in CS right now.
Yeah, that's true.
They had a major winning lineup that broke up 4 events after the event, after winning the major, and they've not been able to attract big enough talent, which means that all the good talent is basically left on a plate for Liquid to pick up. Like this, it wouldn't be possible without Cloud9 being as much of a mess as they are right now in CSGO.
Shout out to Cloud9. Thank you for our $1 million. This is Team Liquid.
But that's actually such a great point because League of Legends did the same thing. TSM dropped Double Lift. And it was TSM dropping Double Lift because they wanted to get the Sven and sort of duo from EU, and that then Team Liquid was able to pick up Double Lift, and so again because of another org not really kind of leaving such a big player, Team Liquid went on to build a back-to-back championship team. So shout out to TSM for
thank you, Reggie.
Think about this, right? Who else does Liquid currently have on their lineup in League of Legends?
I mean, look, Jensen, C9, yep.
Jensen,
although to be fair, he left them though. I mean,
but why would he leave if the team is bad? If the team is doing well?
No, sure.
So I mean, like the sad state of affairs is that Cloud9 have nobody to blame but themselves.
Moral of the story: fuck C9. They're as bad as Sargon.
Hey, at least they won Overwatch League. Oh wait, they weren't allowed to call themselves Cloud9. No, sorry.
That's not how it works.
Also, in our anniversary episode, we're going to talk about our favorite publisher once again. I see.
Yep. So there's something that says kind of bring in Epic as well. So it's like a double combo for one special.
Ooh.
No, I was looking around a bit and remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago when Nowari was here and we were talking about the 2-2 lock. And the biggest problem with Overwatch is kind of still kind of dropping viewers or active players at in any event. There was a pretty successful the second homestand game in Atlanta this past weekend. Fantastic. Like it's so amped when you go there, but it's still a fundamental problem with the game itself. And what it essentially comes down to is that Overwatch is struggling to keep people's attention because of just simply, and this is probably a thing that's going to happen in any new game, I almost want to say.
Is it new though?
No, well, newer, things trying to be easy or lasting. Apex had a bit of a revival just now of some content, but the problem is that there is a content drought, and with Overwatch, it makes sense as to why it takes so long, because whenever something new has to come out, or a new map or new hero or anything, it needs to be tested. There's so much checks and balances that never come to a point where it's almost perfect. And you're sitting with people playing the same thing over and over. And, well, I feel like we as older gamers are used to that kind of treatment. We didn't get a shiny new map, a shiny new hero, a shiny whatever every single, month.
You'll like your broken old flawed rickety ass game and you'll play it.
Yeah, you'll play it. That's what you bought and that's what you get. You'll maybe get some balances somewhere along the line once a year, thanks Valve. But yeah, so that's the problem. And what you can compare it to is why, like, Fortnite, when it came out, and even still last year, I'm like, I have not kept up with Fortnite. Is that they were bringing in new guns, new vehicles, all these things, like almost every other week. There was something new, something exciting, catching people's attention, and they could run with that and they could play it. Whereas Overwatch just simply doesn't have that. Like, for me, like I said, it makes sense to me because you need to like learn a hero, main a hero, figure it out, and become the best that you can be in that. But it seems like the modern gamer, these meddling kids, they just don't, that's not good enough. Things are moving so much faster, and actually game developers are going to have to keep up with that. And how is that going to happen?
I think
So
it has a lot to do with the whole concept of what they call games as a service these days, doesn't it? Where it's like, everything has to be updated every week. It's like they want to keep players playing and buying. I mean, in this case, like the
keep them on their toes in a way.
Yeah, it's like there always has to be new stuff so that you can always encourage them to buy. And the problem is that, like, I don't think Overwatch works very well because the level of difficulty in learning a new hero is like pretty steep. So like once you're comfortable with the hero, like it's sort of like, it's like a big investment to go learn another one in a way. And I mean, you could say that like people will, like people that are like, okay, they'll play sports, they'll play all the sports, but they'll certainly be better at, ones more than others. And I think that's probably what impacts it. It's like you don't have many characters to start with, but then also it's not like in Fortnite where to change, like what your character looks like, it's not the biggest investment. It's like, oh, cool, my character looks different now, but I have still the same abilities.
Or a different gun. But yeah, so that was just I know, Glenn, that you mentioned something about Fortnite, that there was a tweet you shared.
Yeah, but just before we go move on. Sorry, just before we move on to that topic, one thing I just want to say is I feel like we're giving Blizzard like we're giving like Overwatch team like a cop out though, in terms of like
Yes.
but to the point you guys have all made, Dota absolutely blow those out of the water. Like in the sense that League of Legends like almost very often comes up with a new character. They are over like 130 at this point, I think, in League of Legends of champions to pick and to learn and master.
How often do they come out then? How often?
More than anything, more often than Overwatch. That's really the point.
Let's say 3 a year.
No, probably. I think the models are 4 a year, and then they'll do maybe 2 reworks. So basically, getting 6 new champions essentially, and that's a very rough guess. But I'm saying like Overwatch 1 doesn't have that many characters, so to master the thing, I mean, like, come on, like I feel like you just give it. I feel like we're being a little soft on Blizzard. I feel like they're being shit at doing fast content, and they're not an indie company with like 10 devs. Like, come on.
Exactly.
like-
That's Valve.
Is my standards pretty low? Because maybe it is because I played games that were stagnant. Like that's how it felt. If you
Hashtag Team Fortress 2 life.
I actually played this weekend. It was amazing on a casual server. Somebody called me a crap medic, and then I called him. So, anyways, but anyway, that's I
A
think
special
where I'm
friend,
coming
is
from.
that what you call them?
A learned counsel.
Nice.
So it's just I don't think it's insane because I just look at the fact that you've got an esport. There needs to be some kind of stability with an esport. And I know what League of Legends, but I'm kind of thinking if you're looking at it like that way, and if Blizzard is bringing in like 2, 3, 4, it's when there's only like 30 odd heroes, then it's not that I feel like off base or off center that's what they're bringing out at this stage. But we also get patches and it's like a couple of months, but it doesn't change the meta, which is I think something different than what I'm talking about right now. So
Okay. Hear me out.
I see you jittering there.
I'm waiting to drop some fucking bombs, okay? I think this article completely misses the fucking point, okay? What Fortnite has captured is hype culture to the maximum. They want to see all these fucking 12-year-old kids tweeting about Avengers. They're tweeting about Avengers Fortnite party mode. Fucking that's what they've captured. But when Overwatch League started, they didn't even know this hype culture even fucking exists. When Overwatch started, they were like, okay, we see what Dota, we see what LoL, we see what CS are doing. We're gonna take that model and make it like the NB fucking A of esports, right? So they went thinking they're gonna make like some hot shit game. So then, I mean, League of Legends does better than Dota in terms of getting new content out there, but Dota is the fucking king of making a good game, right? The game is so well balanced. There's always.
Did you make it about Dota again?
What a
Like,
challenge.
Wait, listen,
How does he do it?
listen.
How did we?
Listen, just wait.
Am I still in the
There's
same room?
always a complex layer of like fucking things happening in Dota that you're always trying to find out and discover. In Overwatch, like Naori was pointing out last week, yes, now we see guys sitting on the high ground, playing their map like this, playing they doing that. That was the fucking intention from the start of the game. It's taken them 3 years, and people bored out of their fucking minds to be like, okay, let's try something different now. Why can't they just have a game balance? Like, why is it such an issue? Like, the concept of the game is fucking brilliant. You have some heroes that counter other heroes. You have an FPS combined with a MOBA. You have different maps. You have all these ways to balance the game, and then it's still, oh, goats be goats, bro. It's like, come
That's
on, man.
difficult.
It's difficult, but Dota does it.
I don't know. I think there's just so much variables. Like I know Dota does it, but Dota's old and view from the top.
Yeah. No, but what I will say though is there is like Fortnite doing well. Part of it is like that hype culture, but I do
But
think
does
that
it work? Does it work at the end of the
Well,
day?
I mean,
like in 5 years
I'm-
from now,
Mm.
is
No,
this
no, no,
still
I don't
going
know
to
about
be
sustainable.
sustainable?
Yeah, no, and I mean that remains to be seen. But what I will say is, you look at, for example, Apex, right? Apex came out, huge fanfare. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was playing it. No one's really spoken about it much. They brought in, I think, maybe two new characters, but otherwise the game was pretty much the same, like small little tweaks here and there, and it kind of like the conversation died out. They've just released season 2. I think they released that last week. Season 2 brought in new guns. There's like a whole new monster that is like the games actually they've brought in huge content, and I've seen an increase in the people talking about the game again. And I've gotten back into Apex now because I was told, there's so much new content, you got to check it out. It's almost a new game.
But
And I
what was
think
the time period there again? I mean, that was still 3-4 months.
No, that was a
But
way.
Apex
that was a long
Legends fucked up. They had a 50 million player base on day one, and then they're like, okay, but what do we do now, homies? We didn't think past this, and they lost so many players. Why? Because they didn't understand the concept of like, okay, these are millennials and they're gonna get bored in like 3 seconds, right?
To that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Gen Zs now. Don't give us
Yeah,
leave
Gen
millennials
Z,
alone.
Yeah, wait.
We've
Fucking
destroyed
Gen
Gen
Z
Z
enough
is 1.5
industries.
seconds, motherfucker.
We've destroyed enough industries. Let's pass on the baton of destroying everything to the youth. But speaking of destroying things, I don't know if anyone has any other points they want to make on.
No, I was just
Talk
to
about our
compare
favorite
it.
esport.
Yeah, but no, talking about destroying things. Fortnite, a very popular esports game. We've spoken about it before, how they kind of had their little thing at Rush, and now it's a big push in terms of mobile gaming, and people want to make it a thing. And, I love that for them, and that's cute. And, I'm not going to have my view on how I feel about it. But Epic, right, came in and had a whole press release, like $100 million. And we're pumping into esports, and like, we're really serious about this. And woo, go esports, Fortnite. And they have basically just fucked everything up. So
it's been like for $100 million prize pool, it has been massively underwhelming.
Right, and there's been a lot of issues around it. But one of the things that we've discussed on this podcast is it feels like Epic isn't doing esports for the sake of esports. It's like 100% marketing, and we've had that debate of that balance between marketing, competitive integrity, and I mean that's something we've discussed, but. Everyone has a balance to some degree, right? Epic's just gone, fuck competitive integrity. We are all about marketing. And so Slasher put out a tweet. Sorry, Slasher put out a tweet and basically saying, like showing a new clip. So basically there's a new item in the game that's been added called airstrikes. And basically you lob a grenade, a smoke, what do you call it? Like a flare almost, a smoke grenade, whatever. Right, and like a little red puff of smoke comes on, and then it calls an airstrike on that location. So you can imagine in Fortnite, where buildings are a huge thing, you can basically like from afar destroy someone's entire sort of building. So it's pretty fucking game changing, right? It's changed your techniques. It's rendered building the entire mechanic of the fucking game, basically null and void in certain situations, right? When did Epic decide to fucking drop this airstrike of an item? 2 weeks before wait for it, $30 million motherfucking dollar tournament.
Yeah.
Good
So-
game.
$30 million.
Basically, the headlining event of their entire
Going with
year.
it. This is where I was going with it. So you want all these major changes, all this constant updates, all this constant new, whatever, effects, hype, whatever. And this is the result.
That's extreme.
I'm just
You're looking
saying,
too
I'm just
extreme.
gonna say
You're right, Nadia, from a sense, but that's not what I don't want to bring the conversation back to Overwatch.
I'm right.
But like, okay, fine, take it. You got
The
it.
lawyer has spoken. The lawyer has spoken. It's done.
Like the problem is that like it's not like there's only these two extremes. It's not like Blizzard, you maybe get a reasonable patch that's going to change things every say 3 months, and 2 weeks before your event, or it's like, what is their actual patch changeover? It's like 2 weeks, isn't it, that they get like new things?
I'm not even sure.
But it's regular. It's like constant updates.
Yeah.
And that like those are not like it. Just because those are the two extremes don't mean those are the two only options. It's like, I mean, League of Legends had to learn, what is it? I think what season was it, Glenn? Like
when they had when they broke everything, like just before World.
Yeah, it's like they literally had to ban a champion on day 3
Yeah.
from being picked in Worlds, because if you pick that hero and under certain circumstances the hero would break, like you couldn't use its abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
developer
that's
has the
absolutely
foresight to see when they make a recent change to a hero that they shouldn't have it in their competitive game modes. I'm
There we go.
trying to think of.
And it was the same thing. Like they had an item, like League
said
of Legends
Dota.
had an item. No, it was. I think it was that same Worlds where they also had. I can't remember what the item's name was. It was like, it was a.
There was a
tank item. It was like a tank item that made like every tank into like the hardest carry and the biggest tank. It's like, these are two mutually exclusive principles. Why is the biggest thing hitting the hardest? I don't know.
And so League of Legends has done it, but that's why League of Legends learned actually they had to switch up their style of updating, where they would have the pre-season. And pre-seasons where they would drop like the biggest changes, like really big changes in the game. But again, they did it pre-season because then they have time to tweak everything over the course of the various of the two splits, or depending on the region. Yeah,
that makes sense.
but that's
though.
balanced. Exactly, but that's how League of Legends does it.
But
So they've
now,
learned.
like what upcomer.com wants to push is basically to say, oh no, you know what? The problem with
It's
Overwatch
stupid as fuck.
is that the only thing that really brings in players who maybe take a break from the game and come back is new heroes. And you know what, Blizzard,
Bullshit.
you should bring in new heroes every other week like Fortnite, because that's what
Okay,
keeps
sure,
kids
sure,
interested.
that's true.
That's a stupid hot take, to be honest.
Yes.
Whoever wrote
Yeah.
it. So
The The problem with Overwatch
Sasha.
though is it doesn't have the fucking the Gen Z hype culture part of it, but it also doesn't have a well-balanced game. Like, I'm not gonna name it, but you know what I mean. It should.
Like CSGO,
I
yeah.
honestly
Chess.
think. I honestly think
yes,
that
yes,
Overwatch
bro.
should be as good as Overwatch League pretends it is. You know, as fucking Blizzard thinks their game is, it should be that good. That's what I believe. I feel it's disappointing that it isn't. But onto the Overwatch topic, Mike. Do you want to say something, or can I just keep on going here?
No, go.
Okay, onto the Overwatch topic, right? Overwatch, I was going to be very strong about this, but Glenn's speech was so fucking good. I've moved personally. But
I can't remember
Overwatch
the
is the
name.
hottest product on the market, right? I mean, sorry, Fortnite is the hottest product on the market right now, okay? It's like fucking Bieber in 2016. You might not like it, but there's
Yeah, that
millions of
album was
16
great.
14 year
Shout out
yeah, it was.
Bieber.
I also liked it,
Purpose.
actually. I was 14 at the time,
Yeah.
Kappa. But the point is, everybody complains about it, but it's the fucking biggest thing, right? There's this flaw here. Bieber was drunk in one of his concerts. There's this issue, there's that issue. But the fact of the matter is, this is where the fucking hype is. So Fortnite, sorry, is just that. It's the hype thing now. But calling it an esport, not even 2% close there, in my opinion. I don't think that's what they even
Hot
want to
take.
be. I don't think that's what they even want to be. Because if you look at the actions as opposed to their words, they want the marketing of esports, but they just want to keep on going like Avengers hype, bro. Avengers hype. That's not a fucking esport, man. Hearthstone has less variables than Fortnite.
No, and I think a big part of it is like, I think as much as we can, I think like a lot of us do agree that it's not a great esport, and I think it comes back to the topic of battle royales being an esport. Like, can we really look at them and be and say competitive integrity is a big thing as them, and they can make an esport? Like, you look at Rush, for example. I wanted to see if Fortnite could actually bring a crowd, and it's something I mentioned before. It's like, it's a pity that Rush didn't really give the Fortnite like the real space it deserved. Because I'd say this, as much as I don't think battle royale are great esports, I don't think they make for great viewing. I don't think in terms of competitive integrity there's a great side to that. If it pulls in crowds, I'd be like, well, shit, people want what the people want, and I can't argue with that.
I'll say this about battle royals: is we haven't figured out how to make them the best watching experience yet. Because I mean, if you think about it, like, to my mind, the closest thing to like how a battle royale functions is very much like golf, right? Like, for long sections, you're going to see like one person doing one thing at a time. Like, action is especially early on is going to be like very, very spread out. So you sort of have to follow one player, and like they're going to need to figure out how to do that, because you have 100 people in a game. Like, you have to figure out a way to make everybody in that game fairly important.
Actually, one thing that I remember, like, there's a couple of years ago, remember when Ark came out? So Ark is obviously not an esport, but they had Ark Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah.
And the way that was done in the beginning, I think would be a good basis for how battle royale. Like, I don't know, maybe that's a stupid thing to say, but I just
So
remember
explain it to
watching
me,
it.
because I'm not really sure about
it's the same way. It was smaller groups, but it was also you've got a naked man landing on an island and he needs to. So it
Esports
follows
ready.
the basic. It follows the basic idea of a battle royale. So you land, you have to start craft. So in that sense, instead of getting a weapon, you have to craft a weapon and then start trying to attack people when they are at a low level and build your way up. And then whoever survives the longest and has the strongest weapons or have gotten to the hardest point will ultimately be the winner. But to follow that, I think that's the biggest challenge with battle royales is how to firstly present it to people, because you're following Kwesi. Kwesi runs around, he gets killed like after 5 minutes of action. Now you're like, okay, well, pick a new victim, and it's not impossible though. It's not impossible. I mean, surely you will have
I
stats
agree.
going on, and you just jump around to whoever
There's
is
that
doing
viewer
the
who's
best.
been following Kwesi from the beginning, and his like heart is set on that naked man's dong winning. And
I love the Afrikaans. I love the Afrikaans flavor with Dog 50. Loving it.
Kwesi's gone now. Now who do I pick? Who do I follow
No,
now?
it's
You know?
not.
Fricky's in the running, boys.
I don't care about Fricky's narrative. Like, I think that's the problem. But
No,
you're going to have the stats, and you can follow that. And surely that's not too flippin' difficult to get down.
I think Battle Royale will be a watchable esports experience in the near future. I feel like esports people are like, oh, it's out for 2 minutes. It looks bad for 2 minutes. Oh, fuck it. It sucks. Because again, we are not the Gen Z, we millennials, and we moan about everything, right? But like, back to the topic of Fortnite, I think it's also clear to make that distinction that we're not saying that the game is skillless or any shit. I give a local example. Kareem Khan, one of our top Fortnite players, he's won like something like 3 out of the last 5 events, right? He won first place at the Rancho event. He won first place at the Bring a Bravado event. There is a level of skill, right? I mean, I can talk about competitive
surely.
TCGs. It's the same thing. You see the top players coming through all the time. That's not the thing in question. It's the question of the actual like developers taking their own title seriously, right? As much as I make fun of Blizzard for it, they do try, right? These people are trying to make the game as best as they possibly can. Fortnite doesn't care about you guys. Fortnite doesn't give a fuck about you guys. They care about the one conspiracy theory that Antoine Griezmann plays their shit game, which he doesn't. I'll still stand by that shit. Like, I don't know, man.
So do you think our multiple tournament winning players in South Africa are going to win now that they can get airstriked like in the first round by some random shitter?
Yeah, imagine that. You're a top fucking BVD Fortnite player, and then you're just gonna see dead or high skill shit right there.
But it's like
He
that
was
sword
way
when
better
they
than
brought that sword in the game or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
But
again, and they brought it in like the day. I think it was the second day.
Of the
It was like the
tournament.
second day into the tournament. Like not even like in it. They're like, oh hey, by the way, game break item.
So you
Have fun.
also don't have the option to exclude that. For example, like at least with like for example, then hero would be excluded for a certain period, and
But it's because they don't have like
No, give no
custom
shit.
lobbies and stuff in that game, right? Like you're essentially playing, just like the same build of the game as every other pleb, which is to me a huge issue in an esport because you need to have that. What we have in other more established esports is if something game breaking happens, they don't use it at the tournament. It's just you play the version of the game that the players have been practicing on. Because you want competitive integrity. You want the best player or the best team to win the tournament and confirm why they deserve that massive, huge pile of money because they've like refined their craft. That's the whole point of a competitive pursuit. If you're trying to be the best sportsman in whatever sport, be it, basketball or rugby or whatever, you've refined the mechanics that are required for you to be exceptional at that sport. They don't just change on you the day before the big game. Can you imagine that? They change the shape of the rugby ball the day before the big game. All the mechanics that you've learned, like all the muscle memory and how that thing just fucking goes somewhere else. It's like, can you imagine? That's essentially what they do.
That is one of the larger problems with gaming in general. I mean, imagine if, like last year, Lakers get hold of LeBron James, right? And all of a sudden they just introduce a rule that makes LeBron James like terrible. Like
he
just
was.
can't
That's
play.
why
Like,
they finished out of the
No,
playoffs.
but like let's say like there was like you've built your entire organization around player X, and then a rule change comes in that makes player X 50% less good.
Yeah,
no problem.
I mean, League of Legends
that is what MOBAs have had a problem with for a long time. That they've had to like try and figure out how to balance, right?
Yeah.
But it seems as though it's like, and this is the one thing that annoys me particularly with Blizzard, but also in this case with Fortnite, is that like it's not like this isn't a new situation. Yeah. You've had how many years of like watching other esports go through these growing pains, and it's like, no, we'll do the same thing. Like it won't happen to us. Like, dude.
Yeah.
Like putting in a patch this big 2 weeks before your biggest event of the entire year I mean, this is the biggest prize pool in all of esports ever.
It's disrespect to the players
and
themselves.
It's like you're putting in something that can like have such a major impact on like the game as a whole that it just doesn't seem
real, right?
No,
it's like a joke, but it's not. That's the problem because they've done it before. We know it's not a joke, and that's where it's just incredibly. It's got to be frustrating if you're dedicating your life to Fortnite, and this happens because it's like, can you imagine if the final result and then the first place prize is actually determined by a freaking airstrike?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's also going to be who learned in the next 2 weeks. Who's
better at
doing an
spawning?
airstrike
The problem is that like
fast as possible.
What you want like I don't mind this change, right? But not 2 weeks. You give it like 2 months because good enough players will figure it out over 2 months. Because, like, let's say that they figure out like a glitch. 1 or 2 guys figure out by mistake that there's a glitch that you can use that can like insta kill a guy if you drop the airstrike in a certain way. Like, let's say it casts it much quicker. Right? Now they figure that out, but nobody else does, and they use that to win the whole event. It's not the best team. That's not the fastest guys to learn it. Just the guys that know how to work with the glitch. And the glitch they only reveal the glitch after the event. That's the problem.
I guess
if you give it 2 months, and this is why I brought up the League of Legends thing earlier. They realized dropping a patch 2-3 weeks before the event is like a train wreck, because all of the players who've been playing on these major patches right up until like a month before the event. So the world's best teams have qualified on patch A. Patch B comes along, it just invalidates half of those teams now, because they were based around their DPS player. The DPS player is now terrible because through no fault of his own, just like the entire meta of the game has changed through no fault of his. And that's what you can't allow. Like, give it 2-3 months that you drop the last patch. You can run the normal patches in pub games and then just say, like, this is the competitive patch that everybody's going to be playing on. So by the time you hit the major or the worlds or your primary event, whatever you call it, your best players have been playing on that patch for 2 months. They know what they're going in. They've practiced on what they're going to be playing. There's no sneaky business. There's no like little trick that they can learn that's like exploiting a glitch. All that stuff has either been fixed or found out so everybody knows and everybody can use it.
Yeah, I think that's really well summed up, Shaun. I think you hit nail on the head and you knocked it right through the wall with that one. We don't usually agree, but I think we can all agree on that one.
The wise elder.
It was beautiful.
So let's move over to our poll for this week, guys. Over on the Esports Central Twitter profile, you'll see it coming out as this podcast comes out, and it ties in quite nicely to what we've been talking about here. So the poll for this week is Battle Royale truly a viable genre to be an esport? And your options are: it's esports ready, no, it's trash for viewers, it depends on which Battle Royale game, or Battle Royale has real issues for viewers and it needs to be figured out. So have a look and let us know what you think. And
those are quite balanced takes. Like,
I think so. Usually
no
there's
swearing in there. Like, wow. Okay.
Usually it would be like fuck Battle Royale or something like that. That's kind of how our polls usually go, but
yeah, but then also just to maybe elaborate, like, what they actually think should be the change, or
I think as StGutterlily says, let us know like what does need to be changed. If you think it's not great for an esport, what would make it better for people to watch it? If you think it's a great esport, like Battle Royale as a genre is great viewing for esports viewers, explain to us why. Maybe we just don't get it. There's all sorts of options, and the main option you got to go with here is if you want to win yourself a Redragon Vata mechanical keyboard with RGB, you actually got to answer the poll this week, guys. That's the thing. That's how you enter the competition. There's the picture on screen for you. It is super, super sexy. All you got to do is vote on the poll. Maybe even drop a comment. A random robot not named Sargon will actually pick the the poll. Actually, literally, it is a random system that does it. Don't worry, it's not an individual person. So I won't win it. Kaameel definitely won't win it, even if the randomizer does pick his name up. We won't let that happen, guys. But yeah,
if you fought with anybody on this podcast, don't worry, you still stand a chance.
Oh, yes, you do, in fact, because we don't have any influence over that except to say no Kaameel. We just have a no Kaameel rule. That's our standard rule on this podcast. But
that's just the rule 1 of Esports Central in general is just no Kaameel.
And fuck Sargon.
It's a content pillar there.
Yeah. It's almost the second rule of life after no George.
Oh, I love that rule.
George,
yes.
No.
Fuck George.
No George. No George. No. And of course, those who don't know what we're talking about, you never will. But as for the rest of you, again, thank you to Syntech for sponsoring the Redragon Vata keyboard. Definitely enter our poll and make sure that you win the shiny awesomeness that is over there. And just to repeat those options for you on the poll, You'll of course get to see it. Is Battle Royale truly a viable genre to be an esport? It's esports ready? No, it's trash for viewers. It depends on which Battle Royale game, and Battle Royale has real issues for viewers, and it needs to be figured out. And then maybe I'll add another one where it's just like fuck Battle Royale or something, because that would be playing to type for Esports Central podcast, right?
Don't break character.
For sure.
Don't break
Fortnite.
what. Actually, we'll put that one in.
Yay, they agree with me.
Make people super angry. So yeah, definitely also share it as well. Let people know if you want your friends to maybe get a chance to win it as well. And it is of course in celebration of our 50th episode. So thank you guys for following us along. We've been going a little bit longer and we still got a guest going on. So I think what I'm going to do is very quickly sum up the local esports, all of it in one very quick go. What do you guys think?
I'm ready.
Do you think I can do it?
Give us the juice. You
can
do it. It's going to be fucking amazing.
Okay, so this past weekend there was the VS Gaming CSGO LAN, and guess what? It wasn't Energy that won, it was Big Five that won. And unfortunately, it was still very hard to watch because the broadcast camera shook like the guy was on some kind of drugs, because holy crap. Woo! Shaky cam. It was not great, but hey, the casting was great.
The Blair Witch Project.
It was found footage, in a shed or somewhere is what it looked like. I really hope they fix that for the next one, guys, because that one it's the same as 2 weeks ago. It's better. They made some changes and it was better, but still the freaking shaky cam and the what did you call it, Shaun? The Spanish soap opera, where it's like this person's talking. Zoom. Now this person's talking. Oh my goodness, it was. Please don't do that again on the panel, guys. But otherwise, they fixed some of the overlays, made it a little bit better. The viewers were there. Thank you to Barry from Medal State, who confirmed for us last week about HLTV that you could get things listed, and VS Gaming took advantage of that, and they had a few hundred viewers chatting away in Russian on the stream, which was great. So it was over on HLTV. So overall, good event, but please no more shaky cam on the panel. Please don't do that again. And speaking of which, we got Dota coming up this weekend. So if you want to watch Dota, go watch Dota at the Maverick Gaming Lounge, or watch it on the VS Gaming channel. Other than that, we had the Overwatch World Cup. There's a LAN happening at ATK where you can spend $350, and all the money will go towards sending the Overwatch World Cup team, the South African team. I think they're called the ZA Barbarians, are they?
Yep. And get it on Cricket. You can also just decide to, if you like throwing money around for no benefit itself, you've also got the option to just donate that $350 to the team. It's on quicket.co.za. The option is just search Overwatch. You'll find it pretty easily.
Very, very quick over on Cricket. Yeah, definitely give them some support.
If you want to find out more about the Dota going on this weekend, I did a podcast on it interviewing Schlingsgard and Doran, the hottest Lesh SA Dota has ever seen. So check that out.
Fantastic. And then final point, female CSGO in South Africa
burns itself down.
Yeah. I still don't even know what happened. I actually still
Nobody knows what happened.
I still don't even actually understand.
Like nobody knows what happened. That's the whole point, Glenn. Like the fight, from what it seems like, is just a bunch of players, right? Just clearly having beef with one another and finding petty reasons to go after each other. Like if you go and look at what they're posting, it doesn't even make sense. I don't understand what the fight is about.
I figured it out. I figured it out. It does make sense if you go back far enough and read it before tweets got deleted, then that. But it can be summarized as, that scene in Austin Powers where there's a fembot and they explode. That's what happened to the scene.
But I will say one silver lining is the Dota 2 scene was doing the same thing.
Thank
at
you.
least female CSGO did it with their names right up there, with no hiding, no aliases, just straight up, this is me.
It took asking them to be specific about the names for the names to come out. But
sure, but they were there. So props
they
to
got way
silver
bigger
lining.
dick than South African Dota players. Credit to you, motherfuckers, man. You guys burnt down your scene in style.
It was nails out. It was hectic.
I like the fire so much, I put my name on it.
I was too scared to even get a tweet in there, but I was following it. I was tied to my screen. It was fantastic. It was lovely. Please do it again if there's still a scene left.
Whoa.
Episode 50, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Okay, well, that has been episode 50 of the Esports Central Podcast. Quick little summary of South African, well, everything at the end there. And now what we'll do is we will move over to that wonderful interview that we have coming up. So, magic. So it is time for the guest segment, and we have a very special guest. I'm not going to say special 6 times this time, Kaameel. I'm just going to say it once, but it, capital letters, bold, special guest. Wait, I said it twice. It's Gabriel. It's Gabriel from Ekasi Tech Fest. How you doing, man?
I'm good, you guys. Good evening
Fantastic.
to everyone.
Yeah, thanks
for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. It's the first time we've ever had 6 talking heads on this podcast. 5 is usually, I'd say, already too many in some ways because Kaameel and Glenn are here. But with 6, it feels a bit crowded. So I think I'm just going to mute both of them so they can't talk. What do you think?
No, I think you don't have to mute them at all.
I'm the quietest person in this group. I don't know what you're actually talking about.
Yes,
So,
I also don't know. Me and Glenn get along swimmingly every episode.
Always best friends, bromance even.
Forever,
Best friends. So
In K-pop hot.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk about the Tech Fest. I'd say probably from my perspective, I look at the sort of media coverage of the events that were happening that weekend. It was Rush Esports as well as Ekasi Tech Fest. Rush definitely got a lot more exposure in the media than Ekasi did, and I think that's kind of a shame from my perspective. Between the two, if I wasn't half dying in bed sick, I would have probably gone to Ekasi just because it's something different. It's not the normal sort of thing that we always see, and it's kind of appealing to a very different market to what esports tends to target. Did you feel the media coverage that Ekasi got was really enough from your perspective?
Not really enough. Although we did try to reach out to different media platforms, but we managed to get media interviews or radio interviews, if I can put it in that way, from different from different radio stations. Like we have a local radio station here in Soweto that's called Josie FM, which gave us a slot, and we also had a slot with Power FM, which for us that was basically reaching out to our target market, and pretty much I think we've done better in terms of our media coverage compared to last year or the previous Tech Fest, and more around press releases. So
Well, I mean, I knew about it. I'll give you that.
yeah. So I
That's a
think
win.
So I think in that sense, one can say that although we didn't really get to achieve our media coverage objectives, but in terms of getting those 2 major platforms and to have the Tech Fest being heard by probably 1,000 listeners of those radio stations was a huge achievement in terms with regard to that aspect of media coverage. But of course, there's a room for improvement.
So, like on that
yeah,
point,
go.
sorry, just to make, obviously, like I do write, I'm supposed to write about things, but I mean, like for example, I didn't actually get a press release around Ekasi. So I mean, from my side, I mean, I didn't cover the event. Unfortunately, I couldn't go. But I think just from my side, I think one of the things I will see in the scene is like obviously journalists and writers have a duty to kind of look for the stories and find the information as well. But it just makes our lives so much easier when it's just given to us and the narratives are there for us to kind of see. Cool, this is what you guys want. You're trying to do. It's an easier blurb to have, so we can just go, cool. Here's a story to write about. I'm actually just looked down Critical Hit. No one actually wrote about it. So I'm just wondering, just kind of like thinking about the press releases. I didn't receive any. So I think it's also kind of just looking and make sure like you do send it to as many people as you can. Which I know is tricky because obviously getting all those details and it's something to work on. But yeah, I didn't receive anything myself. And then obviously it didn't cover anything.
You're just not important enough, Glenn. That's really what it comes down to, right?
Disconnect.
Stop making me laugh. I'm sick. You're going to make me cough and have a fit.
I mean, I'm sure Khadija Patel from Mail and Guardian got one, but Glenn, you nah, dog. But I think from the social media point of view, building up to Ekasi, during Ekasi, even after Ekasi, I think, we quick to flame anything on this podcast, but I honestly think you guys did a stellar job. Like, the socials look really good to me at all points in time. There's a lot of support from the community as well. You guys on your own socials dealt with it well. I was impressed with that. I think it was a stellar effort from y'all.
No, thanks for it, Kaameel. Thanks for it.
Yeah, no, the social was rad, and there's a lot of positive reactions from people as well. Like a lot of photos from like a wide variety of people as well. Like it wasn't just the usual gaming people. I think it was like quite a wider reach. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I'd say, like as an outside person, you look at it and it looked really, really awesome. Like, just the setup looked amazing. I wish I'd been there. How do you think from your side, Gabriel, did it actually go? Was it a success for you guys?
Well, most definitely the event itself. I mean, it was a success. But of course, we had like shortfalls. When one of our biggest shortfalls this year was around streaming. We set out to stream the event across 3 different countries within the continent, which was Zimbabwe, Ghana, and Nigeria. And we kind of had a shortfall on that, which is something that as a team we realized where we lacked for us to achieve that streaming. But going forward to the next Tech Fest, that is one of the key departments, if I put it that way, that we are focusing on currently right now. We have some of the guys from the team that they are already dedicated to that. As I was saying earlier, that last year we had internet connectivity at Tech Fest, and this year that was not an issue for us because we had to deal with a corporate company, that provided us with 100 megabytes per second per day. So you look into both days, that was like 200 megabytes per second overall for the Tech Fest. And so in terms of the event itself, yes, most definitely to a success. I mean, the past 2 Tech Fest also they were kind of free to the community, so you just come in, and we'll have discussions. Because one of the things that we did when we decided to get into the esports scene in the country was that we realized that for us to get our community involved, within esports and get them to understand really what esports is all about, we needed to bring that part of education. And the first two Tech Fest was basically all about that. We had what we would call experts. We had experts coming through. I mean, in 2017 we hosted the first esports symposium in the country. Where we had then the VS Gaming CEO, we had the Mega 8 guys coming through.
Mega 8.
Ekasi's outlasted them, that's for sure.
And we had MSSA also, just to kind of break down the whole esports thing was all about, the opportunities, the challenges, and so forth. And we had people getting to understand what esports is all about. It's not just about just playing games, because for us it's like you have to start all the way from the parents, going down to kids. So if the parents get to understand what esports is all about and what esports is in terms of the opportunities for their children, then it's easier then to get the children buy-in or parents buy-in for them to be involved into the whole ecosystem. So this year was like, let's just test it out. Let's sell tickets. Let's change the venue. The first two Tech Fest, we hosted them at community halls. Now let's get one of the prime venues in Soweto, which is Soweto Theatre, right? Let's get the Soweto Theatre on board. Whatever the cost might be, would cover the charges. And yeah, I mean, we had more than pretty much 200 people coming through, on both days. So that for us, most definitely, it is it is a success. The event most definitely was a success in that regard. And apart just from that, also in terms of I mentioned earlier, in terms of the CSGO setup, we kind of like try to bring the African theme into it, where we had the guys doing the drums and everything else, bring the drums on top of the CSGO theme song, and
Yeah.
and it did well also, so, and you got to understand that one of the reasons why we hosted, or we opted for a CSGO tournament, not just FIFA, was pretty much that, CSGO global is a huge thing, not just only in South Africa, although in the country is still, the past few years, which was like pretty much a growing scene. But looking like from last year up until this year, the CS:GO scene is kind of dying in a way, in the country. So for us was more like, let's reintroduce CS:GO to the community that have never been exposed to CS:GO.
Because
To
that's
the
the key, of
community.
course, where you're
Yeah.
at. Like the guys in Soweto, there's never been an event there, so it's a new thing for people there, right?
Yeah, most definitely. But what really surprised us was that the final, which was between White Rabbits and Omnius Gaming, uh, they went all the way up to that map, and that match alone took roughly about 3 hours, and you had people sitting there just cheering on those guys. And I was just looking around, I was asking myself, do they understand what's happening there? But because CS:GO bring that aspect of entertainment that you don't get from these other titles, so it was easier for people to kind of like, go into it and kind of like be within the whole spirit of the teams playing, and them also just following
I
what
mean,
was
we've
going on the
said
stage.
and we've said before, like CS:GO is a great game to introduce people to esports, and into gaming at large, because it's so simple, it's so straightforward. I mean, it's just there's dies, there's guns, and then if you die, that's at the end of the game. It doesn't get as complex when you start talking about within like MOBAs, and so to have CS:GO as a way to kind of introduce esports, and it's definitely one of the most entertaining games. I mean, like by a long way, I think I enjoyed watching it more than I do League of Legends. And I mean, I understand League of Legends. So it's a great game to have to use. But one question I did want to ask was around the streaming. So like, why streaming something that you want to sort of bring into the event and something you want to do? And the reason I asked that is like, even working with like Castle Light and things like that, streaming is really difficult to do. Because obviously one of the big things is having constant connection, not having any mess ups with that. But then also you have to create like a whole content plan on like, what are you going to be streaming or live streaming at the time. But then on top of that, like, is there an audience for that? Like, because obviously data is like it's consuming a lot of data. You have to sit there and watch a live stream. So what's the reason behind why that's something you want to push?
Well, for us, it's more on the content side of things, more than anything else. And I do get your point there when it comes to the cost of data and the audience. When we started to work around the logistic for the streaming for the Tech Fest, we kind of like looked into the platforms where we already have like a huge following, like Facebook, like YouTube, for example, where we didn't really focus on pushing the streaming on Twitch, but more on Facebook and more also on YouTube. And for most part of it, it kind of makes business sense for us with regards to the content, when it comes to the streaming aspect of it, and just the post-production of it post-streaming. when we have to wrap up the event, when we look not just only the stats, but just also in terms of us getting the content, just
Yeah.
out of people that are within the venue. Like I said earlier, that we had already forged partnership with guys from other African countries, and for them also, one of the reasons why they kind of jump into that was solely because uh, even within other countries in the continent, CSGO is not a big deal at all. So for them to get to be in Zimbabwe and you get to be streaming or watching live a CS:GO tournament that is happening in Soweto, that was
Yeah.
like kind of a big deal for us because we're not only looking uh, at the community that is here in South Africa for that, but we're also
Yeah.
just looking at the community outside of South Africa.
So
Okay.
also I would say from my side, I think the stream aspect of it, what would just be cool to see is just an audience that's different to the usual rich white kids audience that we see at a lot of these events. I mean, let's be honest, it is, esports in South Africa is still very very much white middle class and upper middle class kind of people. People who come from some privilege, and to actually just see it, I wish I'd been able to watch and see an audience, from a completely different background, a completely different demographic, just engaging with the esport. Because I must say, like, this is something I've said a few times. Prof can back me up on this. We worked on ESL Africa in 2017. We worked with a camera crew who used to do soccer. So, like, these guys are talking about soccer in between while we're busy doing the commentary, they're taking a seat and they're talking about soccer. And by, like, week number 2, they're all watching the CSGO. And by the end of it, they're wearing the team shirts and getting autographs from the players at Rage, because this shit is addictive. It doesn't matter where you're from. It is actually genuinely entertaining. It's just guys don't get exposed to it, and I would have been so keen to see more people seeing what you guys were doing.
Charlie and them were still like telling us their favorite teams and their favorite players. Nuts. It was like, I mean, they'd had what? I think it was 10 weeks or something. 10 weeks of watching this every night, and they could name basically every team or every player on like their favorite team and like what kind of position he would play, and they could like half of the North African players. It was fascinating to see because these guys had like literally never they didn't even know computer gaming was a thing.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, to tie in both of your points, like Extremes, your point about esports being a very white middle class, upper class thing, and Gabriel's point on hosting a CSGO event in Soweto, right? I think for Gabriel and their side, from Ekasi, I think you break that stereotype that, oh, black kids only want to play FIFA, right? They've only been that's a stereotype. Exactly. So the guys in Ekasi doing it, and I think it's like super important. I also don't think it's like almost also like Gabriel was saying before, it was like a community thing. People just come, they do it at the house or community halls and stuff. I think Ekasi Tech Fest in the next 3 years will be a major esporting event in South Africa. I think this year's was already big enough to qualify on that. It's a tier 1 South African esport event, right? And then also on your, like we say, a lot of the players and the viewers and stuff come from that white middle class background. If we look at the gaming forum, we were there, Extremes, when the major sort of players into sort of behind the scenes in South African esports are talking about the bridging the gap between the poorer people in South Africa, or just getting a black audience from the middle class. The ignorance was unparalleled. Like, you could see the people didn't know what they're talking about. It's like, oh, we're gonna put a console somewhere, let the guys play FIFA, and I'm like, nah, dog. Nah, have some fucking perspective, man. And that's why I'm super excited to have you on here, because you guys, we should sit on here and talk about this shit, but you guys are actually doing it there, Gabe.
Yeah, Kaameel. I mean, actually, so one of the reasons why we decided to get into the whole esports scene, when we actually started to, I think we attended the first our first rage back then, like in 2016. So you can imagine, rage has been around for more than 18, 19 years, but for us, the first rage that we got to attend, so like in 2016. And I remember I had my 2 brothers. So when we got there, I could literally count the number of black people that were there.
Yeah.
Except the guys that they're working at Rage, or manning the stalls and everything else. But people that came to Rage, gamers, of people of color, and that just hit me hard, And I remember leaving that place, and I just said to myself, you know what, we just we have to do something about this. And the first thing that we did after having done our research was was to formulate a strategy in terms of developing a CS:GO team. That would be like first black owned CS:GO team. And even then, the guys that we got to be part of the team, they had never played CS:GO. So we wanted to break the stereotype, that certain titles in esports they are for a certain demographic, and certain titles in esports, okay, like FIFA, okay, cool, guys from the township, mostly people of color, yeah, that goes, you go for FIFA, the Dota, League of Legends, Counter Strike, well, that is for a certain demographic. And bam, we had a Ekasi Esports. Now coming forward, or sorry, now coming to the Tech Fest, even now it's still a challenge for us because there's literally one team that has a CS:GO that has all black players, within the team that they play CS:GO, and it's still a challenge for us to try now to develop other teams or other black players in esports that can actually compete in CS:GO. I remember when we were doing our invitation for the CS:GO for the TechFest tournament, and we really wanted to have at least 2 CS:GO teams that are pretty much all black players, and we had a challenge because there is none. So we had just Ekasi Esports, and we had to invite the other teams, and that for us is still something that we are working on currently right now. We've been approached by other young aspiring MGO owners, who want to get into the space, and our gaming house of which is pretty much open to the community. They come through, we teach them a thing or two about esports and everything else. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's still pretty much an industry, and not just in South Africa but globally. Just globally. If you get to watch those ESL Cologne or whatever, was Blast or whatever, when you see the audience, it's all white. When you see the teams on the stage, it's all white. So yeah. I'm getting emotional when I come to that because it's something that's close to my heart.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, with the Tech Fest, we're trying to break that barrier. And when we were doing our ground marketing, where we distribute the flyers and everything else, just talking to people, telling them about the Tech Fest, and everyone will tell you, is FIFA there? Are you gonna have FIFA? Are you gonna have FIFA? Are you gonna have FIFA? Like, yeah. We're gonna have FIFA. And to be honest, for us also it was kind of like, oh, cool. So everyone is into FIFA, right? We go to a Tech Fest, we have more people that are coming for FIFA. So that alone also,
right?
yeah, it kind of give us an idea, as an upcoming, TO, in terms of which other titles that we also need to push on. But ideally for us, it's like, we want to push more MTOs within the townships, just across the country. Would be nice that when we do the Tech Fest next year, we have 2 teams that are pretty much from the township. That would make us happy.
That would be great. And Has your video just disappeared for you guys as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
You still there, Gabriel? Nope.
He'll be back soon.
It hasn't spaced out.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Yes, yes.
No worries.
No
Yeah.
worries.
My internet connectivity sent me a signal.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap this up pretty soon, actually.
No. Just joking.
No, it's cool. I think you make some great points. If I could say something there, I actually think if any MGO owners watch this, and I know they do because we get referenced a lot. It's fun. It's nice, you know. We don't watch your show except when you're angry with us, but
Exactly.
but really for MGO owners, I just see a huge opportunity here. Like if obviously the big challenge for you in making your team better, and obviously if your team is better, that inspires more people to pick up the game and to get involved. But if your team is bad, then it doesn't really help. So how does your team get better? Your team needs to learn from people who are better and to play with those people. So to me, if I was an MGO owner, the way I would see it is, let me go to Soweto, let me take my players, let's organize to do some like training, let's do stuff regularly. I can get a marketing benefit out of this. I can help them. We can all get better together. And actually, probably my sponsors will pay for it because they want to do something in the township. So, like, I just don't understand why people aren't doing this already. Come on, MGO owners. Like, is there any downside to this?
We have an endemic problem in the scene that the people in the scene all come from the same demographic, right? If you see the perspective, it's like I think a good example of this is Middle State hosted a FIFA tournament. Now they're like, oh shit, 120 players sign up for a FIFA tournament in South Africa. I'm surprised. I think we should do this again. But like, yeah, I could have told you long ago that FIFA would be popular in South Africa, right? But like, I mean, I understand why it is like that. The likes of the Barrys, the likes of the Rob Harts, these guys come from our traditional esports, the Counter-Strikes, the Battlefields, you know? So that's what they know. They're doing what they know. But this is why, again, Ekasi is important. You got to have the people who know what they're doing about the scene. They want to be involved in doing that shit, right? And Glenn will tell you why I'm making the bold prediction that in 3 years' time, Ekasi Tech Fest will be the main esports event. Is because Glenn, you work with many sponsors. We've worked events together. We know what they're looking for. We know what kind of brand image they want to create. Now, you don't want to appeal to the fucking minority in South Africa. You want to appeal to the masses, right? That's the goal you want to aim for, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, and to that point, I think it's something I've mentioned a few times and we've spoken about. Is like we're trying to do something sustainable, and I think everyone's finally come to the party and realized that like currently the way esports is set up locally, it's not really sustainable, or something needs to change at the very least. And I think, and it's again, I keep mentioning, it's like you need to tap into a market, and to Gabe's point, like what you're talking about, people play FIFA because that's what they know. And I think, and I speak to friends of mine as well, like in Cape Town as well, and he, like a friend of mine will tell me, like in the townships, there is no other access. It's so hard to access anything. So even if they wanted to play other games, it's so difficult to actually get that access for a variety of reasons. And some of them are really difficult to sort out, things like, ADSL or fiber connection or any of that. That's nothing we can really...
Even a half-decent PC is pretty
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Whereas
There's
like
a lot
a PS4 is like you buy it, it's playing like if a game has PS4 on its cover, it can be played by a PS4.
Yeah.
Like try to do that with a PC. It's not the same.
I mean, there's a host of issues. I mean, even a console is still a difficult thing to it's still a big barrier because it's a console and it's a TV, and so there's still a lot of barriers. But again, the point being that if we want to do something that's sustainable in this country, and it actually was to appeal to brands and appeal to companies that are actually here to spend money, you've got to tap into a majority market. And it's something that we haven't ever we still haven't cracked that. But, again, having said that, that's what Ekasi is here for. And I think that's why, to Kaameel's point, I don't think it's a bold prediction. I think it's a very logical, easy prediction to make, is because that's the kind of market you need to target to. And that's what you need to be doing, is bringing gaming to a new market. So, and I hope everyone follows and leads through, because, I mean, a lot of people tweet about it and will say it, but I've yet to see real actions around people actually trying to bring esports and even gaming to new markets for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, so when we were engaging brands for the past 2 years to be involved in the Tech Fest, they would always say that, well, there's no market for us in the townships, because like we're kind of bring something that has not been done before. And to other brands that they started to work with us this year, it took 2 years of convincing for them to be like, okay, let's try it out, and let's see. I mean, we had a PlayStation stand at a tech fest, and for most part of that 2 days, that was stand that had a lot of crowd in it, and come to think about it, that okay, cool, it's a nice thing, it's a nice thing, and even for us, it's like, yeah, finally now, when we talk to these brands, they'll be able to understand that, yes, we might not have that buying power that you will get when you go to other events that are hosted in the suburban areas. But most definitely, what you get involved when you get involved within a market, the township, you get into a market that will grow. And as it grows, it gets to grow to understand that if I want a gaming PC, I need to go to brand ABCDE, because brand ABCDE is the brand that I've been seeing when I'm attending the events or when I'm attending whatever gaming event that is happening in the township. So it has been a hassle, and it's still most definitely a hassle even still today. But of course, something that we know even ourselves when we got into the space, that it's gonna take us probably then. I mean, we have set a 5-year goal for us. We have set a 5-year goal for us for brands to start to seeing value in terms of getting involved within the township market when it comes to gaming. I mean, I normally say that 1 in 10 houses in Soweto, they have a PlayStation. And if you think about it, Soweto has a population of about 4.5 million people.
Yeah.
A lot of PlayStations.
So and to then come to say, well, there's no market in Soweto for what we actually selling, is something that I think the next 2 or 3 years, most brands will look at it differently, and we will then see, brands having interest in terms of getting involved in growing their.
It's like
country.
convincing. Yeah, you basically have to convince them to play the long game.
Yeah.
Because right now, in the next year or so, it's not going to change that they're going to be able to sell many products, but it's convincing them to it's like the thing where they said if Coca-Cola stopped branding, stopped all marketing, people would know about it for the next. It would take 20 years for Coca-Cola to drop off. And that's the sort of thing that brands have to get involved in. You're not going to make pretty much anything, but you're getting it into the minds of the people that are working there, or that are going to these events, and it's not going to pay off in the next year or so, but you play the long game, eventually it will come back. Now that's the hard sell. I can certainly see why you say that.
Well, I can use an example from my other industry, which is the musical and audio industry, basically involved in live sound and musical instruments and studio recording stuff. That's kind of where I'm from, and obviously the broadcast aspect too. The thing that we've seen in the last sort of 10 years, and maybe we're a little ahead of gaming in this, even though the industry is so small, is that the industry for us has shifted rapidly from being for white rock and rollers who buy guitars and outfit their home studio, and that those are the people spending money, the lawyers and the doctors and whatever, and it's totally shifted over to the township market, where it's about buying the things for your church, for your local venue, for your club. So it's PA systems and DJ gear and all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, this probably sounds all foreign to everybody, and apologies for that, but that's a tiny niche industry that's gone from being only selling to pretty much white people to being 70% the other way now, and it's just going to keep that gap will just keep separating, and it's forced a lot of people in our space to reconsider how they do business, and most of them haven't, and they're still trying to keep selling to white people, and they're dying off because the demographic of the country is not white people only, and gaming will have to realize that, because it's going to change for the bottom line in these companies in the future too.
Yeah, most definitely.
I mean, I had this conversation with Tech Girl at Rush also. It's like everybody thinks like when the white businessman is thinking about getting the black community involved in anything, it's like, oh, let's think about the township. South Africa has a massive black middle class as well.
Yeah.
You don't look
Yeah.
at the thing linearly, right? It's such a wide varying topic. I know this interview is going to come to a close soon, but we could have like 10 podcasts on this and still be going, to be honest.
Sure.
Well,
And I mean, of course, I mean, for us, it's like we also kind of like in a space where you competing with events or sports event that has been around for quite some time, and I mean, like what we had this year, where you had Rush and the Tech Fest happening at the same time. Offish, that was also a challenge for us. Now, when we go to brands, talk to them to come to a Tech Fest, they'll tell you, well, we've got Rush Fest. We're waiting for Rush to give us a call. We'll
So-
come.
so can
How
we
did
actually
that come
ask?
about?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Rush must give you a call first. Oh, you're waiting for them? I'm like,
Sorry. Sorry.
but that is something that we get you understand is get you the industry. That all right, cool. So this how things work. And we've learned this year also in terms of the clash in between the events. Where basically you had both events happening at the same time, and on our side, to a greater extent, we even call Rush. Well, not Rush per se, but we call Perry from Metal State. When they announced the WCG qualifiers, I was like, hey, Perry, I've got teams that they want to participate in the WCG. They might be interested. How's the scheduling around? So that we can be able to accommodate those teams if it needs to be. Because for us, we won't put the tech first as a first priority when it comes to these teams. If they can go to Rush, get to participate on the tournament, if they had qualified, then they can come back to a tech fest. You can move the schedule around. So that's basically how, to a greater extent, we are open to collaborate with any esport event. But having said that, also, I just have to bring this up. But having said that, also, because this is Esports Central, right? So having said that, also, I mean,
Bring the heat.
yeah, Rush happens in Pretoria, and we believe that Rush is targeting, a different market compared to a different market that we're targeting. So we can still pretty much have the same, have the event on the same date next year, and for us, not a clash.
But don't you think at least like the way with the sponsors that you just mentioned that would end up screwing you over a bit? If you would do that. Like obviously it's a different demographic,
Sure.
but you're competing for, I almost want to say the same
Mm.
sponsors, same kind of stalls and stuff. So, because that's something that you guys have probably covered a lot here as well. It's like how bad we are in South Africa at scheduling our events. It's coming up again.
The very fact that Gabriel has to start his sentence with competing events. Motherfuckers, this is a small shit scene. There's no competition. There's no pie. There's no piece of the pie. You baking that pie still. Schedule properly. For God's sake. I was one of the motherfuckers on the phone. Hey, Gabe, yeah, waiting to see what's happening at Rush. I can't confirm Ekasi stuff now. That's shit, dude. I don't want to be doing that as a talent. There's 4 events a year to work. I want to work at all of them. Why must I have to pick and choose when there's like 10 people at each event? Come on now.
Nada, you're right. You're right. As I said, that we had brands that they had to choose Rush when Rush announced.
But
So
you guys announced first, right?
Yeah, we announced first. I mean, we announced in February, and Rush kind of announced in May or so, April. And we had brands
Right.
that we were already communicating with that we were close to getting them on board, but they immediately pulled out. So that's a fair point that you're raising. But all we're saying is that we'll pretty much keep the same dates that you've been keeping. We'll be doing the announcement the next coming few weeks with regards to the Tech Fest, the dates for next year.
Mm.
So, and another thing is that if it's up to brands really, it's up to brands really, because when you come to the tech fest, we introduce your brand to a different market altogether. You're the market that you are used to. When you go
Yeah.
to Rush, and not to say I'm like saying anything bad against Rush.
Yeah, we get you.
I respect the guys, Len and the guys at Net, they've done incredible work. But what I'm saying is that if you go to Rush, you pretty much get to see the same audience that you've been seeing for the past 5 years or for the past 10 years between Rush and Rage. But if you go to see a Tech Fest, it's a different audience. So, and at the same time, for us, it's like the Tech Fest is not only relying on brands coming on board. I'll give you a perfect example. All the brands that came through this year to the Tech Fest, except pretty much AOC, except AOC, they didn't even put any money to a Tech Fest because we said to them, no, we're not charging you anything. Here we're building a relationship. We're not charging you anything. And pretty much maybe going to next year, we might have the same thing because we're not relying on brands only. We've got other partners, that you can't mention that are investing into the Tech Fest.
Yeah.
So all we're saying is we are open for communication with esports or TO organizer in the country that is looking to collaborate, that's looking to say, okay, this is my calendar. Can we work around in terms of when do you want to do your event and when are you going to do ours? But it's definitely not going to be coming from us. That definitely coming from us. But yeah, just had to say that, guys. Sorry, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I think a couple things there. First, brands, you heard it here first. You can get free space at Tech Fest next year. Speak to Gabriel.
No.
Early bird special. The
Early bird special. No, kidding, of course. But
early bird special. Yeah, but
if there are any brands, of course, do speak with Gabriel. I mean, I can say from having met with Gabriel before, dude is super passionate about esports, about growing it in his community, and just about the scene in general. So, I mean, there isn't a better person that I could say. If you want to get in the ground floor of esports, brands like to say that, hey, let's get in the bottom here, and then, when it's all about the money, then we're going to make the bucks. Well, that's a really good ground floor, grassroots sort of level to get in. And I think it's in a growing market, so it's definitely a worthy cause. Second point I'll go on is on the dates you mentioned that you announced in February. Nag came out in May, so I want to go like, what the hell, Nag? I know you have respect for Nag. So do I. In fact, I used to be on their podcast, but I could say what I want. So I'm just going to say it. It's really shitty of them to do that. Honestly, they got all these other weekends. The fact that it had to happen this way is really shitty. And I understand where you're coming from, that you can say, yeah, it's in different cities, it's different demographics. I get that, and that's very cool of you to even say that you'd like let the players go and play WSG and come back to Tech Fest and move the schedule. That's really cool from you. But
Awesome.
Again, there are 51 other weekends in the year. Why does that have to happen on the same weekend? And
Look, but I will
the
say-
other wait, Glenn. The other thing I'll also just mention there is if maybe we're talking different crowds, but I would have loved to see some of the crowd who would typically go to Rush actually go to Tech Fest and see what Soweto's about. Go check out the theater. It's a really cool venue. And actually, Soweto's a happening place. I just like more white guys to go there. That would be cool, but because it's happening on the same day, that wasn't possible. Sorry, Glenn.
Yeah. No. I just want to say, I mean, just on the other side, like NAG may have, just in their defense, they may have announced at a certain time, but I mean, booking out a very popular venue is something that
Maybe for the
happens
next
like
3 years.
way in advance. You know what I mean? So there are other sides of it that, and I don't, just again, obviously just speculation. Yeah, like especially a place like, where they go, it's like it's a popular place. So they may have only announced when they did, but that venue would have probably been secured long before, which is why it kind of looks. But again, at the end of the day, it still comes back to like everyone just needs to talk. I feel like everyone knows that next year everyone's going to be doing the same thing. Start chatting now and trying to find ways to avoid having this happen again.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if it just doesn't happen again. If I hit year number 3 of talking about this shit happening, where there's 2 events happening on one weekend, I don't even know. Like, you guys will probably have to come visit me in some kind of loony bin or something, because it's just like, really, can this just stop? That would be nice. But I think this interview actually has to stop because we're running out of time. So I do thank you for joining us, Gabriel. Do you have any shout outs or sponsors you want to thank or anything that you want to say?
Well, shout out to our sponsors. As you can see, got AOC there, got Aaron. Shout out to Redragon, Syntech. Shout out to our friends at Nexus, and shout out to Demoners. So yeah, shout out to all the partners that they believe in our vision, and we're looking forward again to working with the community as a whole and grow the Zero Esports. The whole objective for us is to grow an inclusive Zero Esports. That's all.
Just a
But
question.
thanks a lot again to you guys.
One question.
Yes.
Like, how can like average Joes and Jodines like myself, how can we support Ekasi Esports? Anything out there? I know you used to have like jerseys, hoodies, and stuff like that. Financial.
Yeah. Well, actually, we had our website up today, where you can get yourself the Ekasi Esports official 2019 team jersey.
Nice.
And in terms of supporting Nadia, honestly, I think we need to have more of this open conversation or discussion around esports and inclusivity in South Africa as a gaming as a whole. I know that there have been forums so forth around that, but I think in most cases people they don't want to speak the truth, because they are probably afraid if I speak the truth, I may not get a gig next year when this TO does this event and so forth.
No problems. Yeah, we burned all the gigs there.
We don't have any gigs left, homie, to burn.
We're on the right track.
But overall, I mean, the support that we've received from the community as Ekasi Esports and Ekasi Tech Fest has been phenomenal. So we. Now, this is a shout out to the community. We just want to say thank you to the Zere community, to the Zere Esports community for supporting Ekasi Esports and Ekasi Tech Fest. And let's support each other and grow each other. But
Awesome.
To Esports Central, thanks a lot, guys, for having us.
Yeah, absolutely welcome, man. We'll definitely be following your guys' progress. We'll talk about what you guys are doing and definitely give you all the exposure we can. Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for everybody for watching the episode as well. This is the special 50th episode of Esports Central. Woo! 50th episode. It is in the bag, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us next week for episode 51 if we haven't skipped the country with all the millions we've made from the first 50 episodes.
Yeah, not true.
Shilling. Yep. And also thanks to Redragon, one of the sponsors you mentioned, for sponsoring the mechanical keyboard in the giveaway. Definitely, you got to rewind if you want to hear how to enter that giveaway. Definitely do that. Answer the poll on the Esports Central Twitter. Thanks everybody for watching. Have yourselves an awesome evening, day, morning, or whatever time of day it is. Episode 50 of Esports Central signing out. Cheers, guys.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.